Hello, I am here with Kevin Lyons. He is the owner of Lyons Law Firm, and Kevin has graduated from the Resilient Transformation Academy, the Mastermind Group, and is just continuing to have incredible transformations. And thank you for being here, for sharing your story about how we've worked together over
Yeah.
these past several months. So thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for inviting me, actually. It's great to share.
You're welcome. And I would love for you to share, where were you before we met? What were some of the things that you were experiencing?
I practice litigation, commercial litigation, and a lot of our cases involve what's called breach of fiduciary duty and fraud, and they're extremely complex and a lot of emotions and a lot of anxiety, a lot of late nights. What's interesting in reviewing the notes prior to our, I guess what we call it, testimonial here, it's amazing where I was. It's almost hard to kind of put myself back there, but I would get up every night exactly at the same time, pretty much like I think it was 3:13 or 3:17, and sometimes it would switch. I'd be up every single night, bolt upright, and my mind would be completely racing on work. I would then work about 2 or 3 hours. I'd then go and work out from about 5:30 to 7 like a madman to exhaust myself to get rid of all the stress. And then I'd eat breakfast on the run, and then I'd work basically until, I don't know, any time between 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and then 6 o'clock. I'd plow through every single day. I might have a break for dinner, I might not, and I'd work until anywhere between 9 and 10.
Oh,
And it was constant. It was 6 days a week, 7 days. My shortest day was Sunday, and I'd only put in about 6 to 8 hours on those days. So to say that I had some anxiety and that I wasn't sleeping is an understatement. It was to keep up with the workload, to keep up on the files, and to keep pushing through.
wow.
So yeah,
Wow. Sleepless nights, anxiety, and sounds like you were really pushing to make things happen.
yeah,
And so it sounds like you were getting to the point where maybe you were just getting exhausted, but you were just using that willpower and that drive to push through.
yeah,
Yeah. And so
yeah.
had you tried anything in the past to fix this, or try to have more work-life balance, or try to sleep through the night? What have you done in the past?
Sure. Honestly, I worked out like a madman. And I mean like hour and a half, and I would just beat my body and beat out that stress. Sometimes I would do twice a day if I needed to get, to stay later. Um, I actually did read Dr. Joe's book, and Breaking the Habits, and it worked. Um, but it only got me so far. And I thought that I was in a place where I was ready to deal with anything. And then everything happened. And I hit some pretty big life snags with family, some serious health issues and things like that, and with work. And so I was really surprised that I wasn't as far along or where I needed to be to handle a lot of that. Um, I did try meditation, and I was a pretty good practitioner, but it wasn't focused in the right direction. I also didn't have a lot of feedback. And I think that was the biggest problem with reading the book and trying to do it on my own, and also doing meditation on my own. I also, at the time, didn't realize that I was just, literally plowing through. I would push through everything as hard as I could, and I didn't want to stop because that's how I had so much success, was because I broke through the brick wall, so to speak, every time. Um, and so then things came to a head, and I realized that I wasn't ever going to be able to keep breaking through brick walls, and things needed to change. And that's when I
Wow.
ran into you. I ran into you
Yeah.
at the right time.
And when you ran into me and you heard what I spoke about, because I came to one of your Vistage meetings,
Yeah.
What was it that you said, that's what I want to do? This is what I choose to change, and what was the main thing that you were hoping to get out of it?
So fundamentally, sleep. I wasn't sleeping, and I've had cases involving people with Alzheimer's and with dementia, and so being in midlife, so to speak, that was a big concern. I wasn't sleeping. I mean, I was existing on 4 to 5 hours of sleep, maybe six, and it wasn't solid sleep. And it was, nervous, anxiety. I was completely driven by the emotions of stress and kept pushing that through. So when we had met, you had covered some of the fundamentals or touched upon things that were in Dr. Joe's book, and I was thinking, oh my God, I just finished this book, and then what caught my eye was the actual accountability, like the actual meetings every week, because that's what I needed. I needed to have the group meeting where I could hear what other people are going through, because then you feel normal. There's a lot of people in the group that are business owners that are very successful, of course, but to hear people kind of be, well, the word is vulnerable, but humanized, and yeah, this is what we go through, and then to know that there's a path to actually change that sleeping habit, and the anxiety, and then the one-on-ones, and basically, it's amazing. I'm very goal oriented, so setting up goals that I really didn't think that I'd hit. I put on these high goals and I hit all of them, which was really, it was work though, it was work, but it wasn't that much. It was a lot easier than what I'd been doing for sure. So.
Yeah, so when you talk about work, and give an idea, like how much time did you spend a day doing the things that we taught you to do it?
So you only have to practice, like, at the beginning you're talking 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, or 30 minutes total. But really reading the materials, participating in the meetings, and being prepared for those, and then digesting the information. I would reread the stuff, and I would watch certain of the videos of our meetings, to get the concepts. But you had to do the meditations on your own, and it sounds like that we call it meditation, but it's really the inner balance sessions where you're getting the feedback from your device, and that was extremely helpful. And then I really created a good habit of that, where I was then doing it every day, and I would pop it in the middle of the day. I'd be in between court hearings, or deposition, or literally, like, it gets pretty adversarial in the type of work I do. So I would, after I'd get off of those, I would get to a coherent state, to kind of to calm myself back down, and to get where I needed to be to get to the next, thing in the day. But that was the key was doing the inner balance. The key was doing the actual meditation to, yeah.
When people hear meditation, they usually hear you got to go away and close your eyes. But
No,
what you were doing is you were aware of the stress state, and instead of plowing through and pushing through and then using
yeah,
exercise to overcome it, you could turn off the stress or harness that energy of stress and come back down into balance in the middle of
yeah.
the day. And could you do it with your eyes open?
Oh yeah. Eventually you train your yes, absolutely. And that's the key. But you have because you have to do it enough. So you do it with your eyes closed and you do it with your eyes open. So you're training yourself to actually become aware and then do it while you're conscious. And one of the big breakthroughs for me, and if you do the course, you'll hear it, is that 80% of our thoughts are negative. And so you have all of these negative thoughts and these negative feedback loops that are running in your head that you're not aware of. And then, more importantly, your body has addictions to stress, to the chemicals and the stress. And once you realize, when you wake up at 3 in the morning and your body is running or racing, your body's racing, not your mind necessarily. So sometimes your body will create that in your mind, and then that'll create that feedback back loop. Once you're aware of that, you can break that cycle. And I don't even, I mean, where, I'm almost going on a full year now where I'm actually sleeping every night. It went in phases where I'd wake up, and and then I'd be able to go back to sleep. Sometimes I'd want to stay awake because I was in such a good positive mood, And but then I was always, and I still am able to go back to sleep no matter what's going on in the day. And that's part of the program as well, where you have to do the homework. So write down those negative thoughts, track them and pay attention to them. And I did that for a good 3 months every day. And I was able to then pinpoint what emotions were being triggered by my body, and then what negative loop was in my head, and that was huge.
Do you feel like you've been able to stop that negative loop and train your brain and body into something different?
Uh, Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
and you could do that shift. It's called, shift and replace. You could do it on a dime. Um, yeah, it's really impressive, actually, what you can do.
would you ever catch yourself doing that, like, in the courtroom? Could you shift and replace while you're in the courtroom
It,
litigating a
it,
case?
yeah, I was in a month-long trial in December, which was a very contested, to say the least, breach of fiduciary duty, fraud trial that had it's a civil case, but had everything from physical threats and violence to significant sums of money, and a lot of wrongdoing and a lot of issues of justice. And the key for me in that trial was to focus on justice. All too often, and this was our life as litigators, is the courtroom was our gladiator ring, and we'd go in there and you'd start swinging and taking people's heads off. And that's not the right focus. The focus should be justice. And when you focus on justice and higher energy, such as love, you can cut through all the smoke, and do it without the stress. Now, you're still working 20 hours a day, you're still working 18 hours a day, but I was squeezing in 300 balance sessions. I would do it in the morning, immediately after trial, and then right before I go to sleep. So I was completely coherent during the entire trial, and everything that could go wrong in that trial went wrong from a procedural standpoint. Witnesses didn't show up, equipment didn't work, people got sick. I mean, everything, documents were in the middle of downtown Chicago on fell out of a box. So, and everything came back together. So, and not once did I lose my cool. I laughed it all off, and a lot of that was because of the right mindset.
Wow. I
Yeah.
remember a conversation that we had. Is it okay if I share that conversation about how you didn't want to do the trial and then you did? And then I said, what would it take for you?
Yeah.
Should I?
Uh, we don't have a verdict yet, and it might go
Yep.
up on appeal.
Okay,
But I
got
will
it.
put it this way. I will say it this way. The case was extremely volatile. Extremely volatile. When I say there were physical threats, there were physical threats against me personally. And so you get to a point where you are wondering, well, is it worth going to do the trial? And why are you doing something, right? And in law we do have a higher calling, and that is justice. And I approached it with love, and mixture of not just love of myself, my client, or justice, but of the opposing side, and understanding that everybody has a story to tell, and everyone has their own feelings and where they're coming from. And so when I approached it from the higher emotional energy states, I wasn't caught up in the minutia and in the fighting. Um, I've always been nimble in the courtroom. I've always been quick, but there wasn't the stress and the brain knots or the frustration that would accompany it. And everything flowed and flowed perfectly. Even the imperfections of a trial seemed to be there for a purpose. So I would put it that way.
So beautiful, Kevin. So beautiful. When we first started this, you were talking about the 80% of our thoughts are negative, and you had anxiety and sleepless nights, and you would power through. And it sounds like as you tracked your emotional states and your thoughts, you realized that you were, we say vibrating at a different energy. You
Right.
were vibrating from a place of stress and push, push, push. And through this program, you've learned to transcend that. You've been renewed, like your mind has been renewed in a whole different way. And in doing so, you've been able to embody that renewal. And so you're
Mhm.
operating, you're in your profession, you're operating from a
Yeah.
higher state of consciousness, a higher vibrational state, and embodying that love. And as you're doing that, what you're seeing is all this stuff happens on the outside and it can be stressful, but you're maintaining that composure internally. And it
Yeah.
sounds like you're flowing through things so much easier.
Yeah. You're bulletproof, I guess is the I don't know what a better phrase to say, but you are. The anger that I used to have. So the anxiety is caused by fear, and the fear of not winning or the fear of not doing your best. And then when you can't control things, then you become angry. So you have fear, anxiety, frustration because you can't control it, and then anger. And when you work from that place, it's horrible. First, it's horrible to feel that way. It's horrible on the body. And while you might have some successes, and you can push through all of that, there is a much better way to do it and an easier way to do it where you can come through all of that unscathed without having the frustration, the anger, the fear, and the anxiety,
So
which is
it's
amazing. No, I wouldn't have believed it if I wouldn't believe me right now. I wouldn't have
well,
believed
I
me.
believe you because I've seen it happen. I've seen the
Yeah,
full circle. Pretty
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Wow, such a beautiful journey that you've had. And in doing so, it sounds like you literally have rewired your brain, rewired the nervous
yeah.
system. This is now your normal state.
That's right. Yeah.
And it sounds like you didn't have to put a whole lot of time into it, that as you started to learn the techniques, you started to integrate it. Would you say that your productivity increased at all while learning this?
Well, yeah, well, here's how my focus, I didn't do this to make more money, to have more clients, or to have better results. I did this for my own well-being. So when I look at productivity, I look at what I do in my life. I'm running a firm, so I run a business, which is one aspect. I have a dozen employees, and then I'm an attorney, so I have all the roles of an attorney, litigating and doing all the heavy lifting, plus running a business. Well, how can you do that and have a productive life? And now I meditate every morning, 50 minutes, 50 to an hour and 15 minutes, depending upon which one I do, 53 minutes to be exact. Every morning. I'll do it at night for 15 minutes sometimes, and I get my exercise in hour and a half every day. But it's not crazy pushing through as hard as I can. I have so much more energy. So when I go into the office now, I am much more productive, but I'm doing things in less amount of time. So I've carved out a lot more time for myself. I also spend probably about 45 minutes to an hour reading books, in like basically investigating things that I'm interested in, things that stimulate my brain and my creative center. And so I'm able to do that, which is unheard. Like, I mean, I was saying, I'm telling you, I would work 3 a.m. to 5. I mean, that was a real schedule for me. I did not have, I mean, other than working out, I didn't have these other things, um, like I do now. And so, yeah, I'm more productive. I'm doing things in less amount of time, so I could
Wow.
do the things I want and have a better, happier life, which is true. So I'm much, much happier. And I don't mean like in I'm happy, yay, and things are going well. It's a feeling of calm, not having anxiety, not having the fear, and not having those negative emotions to push you through the day. And to be able to shift when those do come in, to ask yourself, why are they there? And then to be able to change to a positive feeling. And it's wonderful. I mean, it's better than any drug. So,
Right.
I mean,
And the
no,
side
like,
effects are all good.
they're all good. Yeah. I mean, with the lack of sleep, like I never did like the sleeping medications, or anything like that. like anybody else, I might have drank a beer or something, or alcohol, right, to try to take the nerves and edge the nerves off or try to help sleep. And that definitely does not work. That if you're doing that, this does not help your sleep at all. But I can't imagine, like, if everybody did this that had a sleep problem, just it's like 3 to 6, just do 3 to 6 months. You don't have to do what I did. You don't have to, more than that. Just do 3 to 6 months and practice every day. And can you imagine if you were told, like, hey, for you do 30 minutes a day for 3 to 6 months and you'll be sleeping through the night? Man, I wouldn't have believed you. And two, I'd have been like, all right, I'm in. So, I mean,
I'm
and it
ready to
really
try
is,
it.
yeah. So really, that has been just that I forgot that that was such a focus for me. That's how different I am now than I was before. I even, like, I forgot how bad it was until
Yeah.
I went back and I read stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I did. That was how it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you really transformed from the inside out, not the outside,
yeah,
and that's the key.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we've talked a lot about business and how this is translated for your business and your work-life balance, but how is this translated into your relationship with your wife and your daughter
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have a son as well.
and your
And
son?
yeah. And so I have been more present, and that is a huge, huge thing for me. I've been much more aware. And my life, I'd make all the games, not all of them, but I'd make games or events. But I was constantly running things in the back of my head, or I was constantly doing emails, constantly taking phone calls, constantly all about work. And now I'm so much more present in their lives, and my communications have have completely changed. I'm listening, and hearing is probably the better
Yeah.
word.
Right. Oh, that's what
um,
they said.
yeah,
That's what they meant.
right. And it's also self-love and understanding my own needs and what I need to be whole. And so my interpersonal relationships with the most important people in my lives have dramatically improved. Um, and they've seen that, and they've commented on it. Friends, family, and coworkers have said that. So it's been a really good transformation.
Wow. How are
Yeah.
you gonna use this moving forward?
Uh, so and through all this journey, like when you're, I had, I had, so I had my brother who I was very close to, with Down syndrome. He passed away, back in October. So not too long ago, and right before my December trial. And he had Alzheimer's, and I was caring for him and helping quite a bit. And then we were fortunate to get him into a memory care facility and things. And so it was a rough go at it. But what's crazy is what this program helped me to do, um, is shift and look at that whole process as a positive and a natural progression. And as crazy as it sounds, I still feel my brother as if he's here. And so I won't share everything. I do have a plan. But the first step of that plan is I'm writing a book about my brother and love and what he went through. We grew up in Chicago, and what our family, and then how he really, his whole life was one big miracle from start to finish. Um, and so that's my where I'm taking this. That's my next project. And so actually that's what I'm doing. And not my downtime. I'm actually creating time to do that. It's one of my favorite things to do in the middle of the day. So I still get my work done. I'm still productive, and I'm writing this book. So
It's
which
gone through you.
yeah,
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 and, something really key that you just said is I still feel him, and I'm creating time in my day to work on this project to honor him and bring awareness to other people. So
Yeah,
it sounds to me like instead of being reactionary to life, you're responding and you're creating a future that you're designing that
that's
fits
right.
with your family values, your own integrity, your passion, and you're not running a mile a minute. You're
Yeah,
the creator of this future that maybe you would have never connected to as deeply as you have in this state of love and this transformation that you've gone through.
that's right. That's exactly right. That know that you have a choice and that you get to choose. That's a very powerful word. That's one of the word the green light words that we use. But it is because you get to choose. So awareness and choice, awareness of the choice that you get to make. So this is your life. You have one shot, and enjoy it. And you get to
Wow.
choose to enjoy it. Yeah, it's wonderful. That's wonderful to live in that place.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you're definitely living in that place and your future is on a completely different trajectory. You've done
Yeah.
the work, it's paid off. And just thank you so much for being here to share your story. It's so inspiring and it's been such a pleasure to work with you and see your
Yeah.
transformation and be part of your journey.
Well, thank you, Julie. I mean it.
You're
I'm
welcome.
serious. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and I can't wait to see where you're going to be a year from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, and the lives that you're going to touch and change. So thank you for being part of this.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.